Committee. And speaking of the Oversight Committee, Kentucky Representative James Comer, had this to say after yesterday's deposition.
Most of the questions that we asked about the Clinton Global Initiative, which were very specific questions, some of them were backed by emails and other documents that have been released by the Department of Justice. She said that she was a senator and you would have to ask her husband that tomorrow. So we have a lot of questions for her husband tomorrow, and I'm confident that deposition will last even longer than this one. We're going to hold both Clintons in criminal contempt of Congress.
I'm going to note for the record former President Clinton is not present.
Today, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform meets to advance two resolutions recommending that the House of Representatives find former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with duly issued subpoenas. The question is now on favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 34, the nays are 8, with 2 voting present.
The ayes have it. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find William J. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with the subpoena duly issued by this committee. The question is now on favorably reporting the Hillary R. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 28, the nays are 15, with 1 voting present.
The ayes have it. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by this committee. We will move the report to the full House. Today, the Clintons must be held accountable for their actions, and Democrats must support these measures or they will be exposed as hypocrites.
But if Comer tries to bring this resolution, he wants to lock Hillary Clinton up, consistent with what Donald Trump's been saying now for 10 years, lock her up, then we'll deal with it appropriately.
Okay, so that deposition starting for President Bill Clinton about 8 minutes ago, or actually 6 minutes ago. This is our first segment of the day. Of course, we're going to talk about the depositions, and then also we'll be talking about Iran and energy and the economy, all the things during this broadcast this morning into this afternoon. And then, of course, we'll have that second broadcast a bit later today when President Trump will be in Corpus Christi, Texas. Meantime, sticking with the deposition, Bill Clinton on his X page, as we read the opening statement from Hillary Clinton yesterday to the committee, maybe there will be one released again today for Bill, we'll see, but Clinton on X on, I believe it was February 6th, posted the following. He said, quote, "I have called for the full release of the Epstein files. I have provided a sworn statement of what I know, and just this week, I've agreed to appear in person before the committee. But it's still not enough for Republicans on the House Oversight Committee." Now, Chairman Comer says he wants cameras, but only behind closed doors. Who benefits from this arrangement? It's not Epstein's victims who deserve justice, not the public who deserve the truth. It serves only partisan interests. This is not fact-finding, it's pure politics. Clinton, the president, former president, said, "I will not sit idly as they use me as a prop in a closed-door kangaroo court by a Republican Party running scared. If they want answers, let's stop the games and do this the right way in a public hearing where the American people can see for themselves what this is really about," end quote. That from Bill Clinton on February 6th of this year. Well, he is in New York, I believe in Chappaqua in northern New York for today's deposition. Of course, within the Epstein files, all released from the DOJ. Of course, there's some saying that there's more to be released. I'm not at the DOJ. I can just only see evidence and receipts of various reports. But the point is, within the Epstein files, we've seen that President Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein and girls in pools and jacuzzis, and of course that famous, or some say infamous, painting of Clinton hanging inside one of the buildings on Epstein Island. So those are facts, receipts, evidence, stuff that we've seen. So again, just reporting what we're seeing out there and also bringing you the latest news of the day. Speaking of that, here are some of the stories we're tracking in the 24/7 news cycle. We're monitoring any new developments as millions of us out there, and when I say of us, I mean myself included, are hopeful to see the passage of the Save America Act. That's requiring voter ID and proof of citizenship in the upcoming midterm election. We're also keeping a close eye on any developments in Iran. Will there be peace or something more in the Middle East there when it comes to Iran? In a New York Post article cited the Washington Post, Vice President Vance told the Washington Post that he dismissed speculation Thursday that a U.S. military strike against Iran would lead to a protracted war in the Middle East, telling the Washington Post, quote, "The idea that we're going to be in a Middle Eastern war for years with no end in sight, there is no chance that will happen," end quote. Again, that from the Vice President. We'll dive into more about Iran in just a minute. Before we do that, and before we get back into some more details of the various stories we're following, we have a number of live interviews to bring you here as well. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy, some of our great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see it right there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And so when was the last time you actually restocked your medicine cabinet? Most people wait until someone gets sick. Then you're scrambling, calling a doctor, waiting on appointments, hoping the pharmacy has what they need. And how about this? Just even getting to a grocery store to even buy over-the-counter stuff if it's closed, that kind of thing. So obviously you should have what you need at home. And if you already know about All Family Pharmacy, you know there's a better way. When you go to allfamilypharmacy.com, you can stock up in advance on essentials like antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, albendazole, NAD+, Tamiflu, and more. Actually, I had to use some Tamiflu just the other day, just in case I was getting the flu, but I didn't, thank God. But maybe Tamiflu is the one that kicked it out. Anyway, and it was from All Family Pharmacy, which is pretty cool. Anyway, more than 300 prescription medications are available, everything reviewed and prescribed safely by their licensed doctors and shipped straight to your door. So you can be prepared before you need it. Just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use code RSBN10. You'll save that 10% on the essentials you want to keep in your medicine cabinet. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, another great sponsor, you may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship, unfortunately, is back. It's happening in a lot of places. Platforms are controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they want us to see. So, of course, we need to fight back in that information area and also in the financial arena. Rumble is one of the only companies that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. So on one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. Banks unfortunately, can cancel our accounts, freeze our cards, but that's why Rumble has created Rumble Wallet. It's a wallet that no one can cancel and a wallet that supporters can use to instantly tip creators like us without any middleman taking the cuts. So with Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours and only yours. Yours to protect your future and family. So you can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. So it's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with the click of a button. There'll be no fees when you tip our channel or others out there, and we actually receive that tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. So you can support our show and other creators by clicking the tip button on our Rumble channel. You can go to wallet.rumble.com for more information. Also, if you'd like, you can just search Rumble Wallet in the app stores that you see on the bottom right of your screen. Most of us have either an iPhone or a Droid, of course. Who's on Team iPhone? Who's on Team Droid? I guess I can't see everybody's hand raised, but you could type in on Rumble if you're watching right now, or YouTube, or wherever you're watching. Do you like the iPhone better, or do you like the Droid better? Anyway, 11/12, Friday, February 27th. Thanks again for live streaming in with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You're looking live in Washington, D.C. If you just remember yesterday, I was talking about the cloud cover there and the fog and just that cold look that we've seen for a while. It looks like today, a little bit brighter, which is always good, especially on a Friday. Speaking of Friday, speaking of today, the president will be in Texas today. So he's not even there in D.C., he's there now, but he'll be headed down to Texas. And, now that I think of it, usually the president will speak to reporters on his way on the South Lawn to Marine One. So if that's a clip that goes live, we'll receive that, of course, when it comes to the White House's feed and other feeds out there, when it comes to government feeds. We'll be able to air that here, whether it's live or only moments ago. So if we see anything like that, we'll bring that to you. As you see on the bottom of your screen, updates on the closed-door Clinton deposition. Right now, that just started 13 minutes ago. And we were talking about the specifics from Bill Clinton. He talked about the Epstein files on February 6th, his statement about this whole House committee deposition. Speaking of that, yesterday, of course, Secretary of State, the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was deposed. Of course, now what we're waiting for is the video from the GOP for both Hillary and then today's Bill Clinton video. Now, if that's something that is released later tonight or tomorrow or over the weekend or next week, talk about some serious views. A lot of people would be watching that, of course. Anything involving the Clintons or anybody, really. The Les Wexner video is getting some good traction out there as well. All right, so let's go into a few things here on Right Side. So in just a few minutes, we're going to be interviewing someone with the America First Policy Institute, talking about President Trump's speech later today, all about energy, so we'll preview that speech. Meantime, let's go to clip 3. The Secretary of War recently spoke about Scouting America, all about Scouting America reform. I believe this is the Boy Scouts of America, now called Scouting America. Well, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, released about a 6-minute video talking about reforming Scouting America. So let's listen in.
American boys to make moral and ethical choices, not just during their formative years, but for a lifetime as they grew into men. The first few words of the Scout Oath exemplify this. Quote, "On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country." The Boy Scouts are embedded in our communities. They're sponsored by community organizations, service clubs, and churches. Many Boy Scouts have gone on to senior leadership positions in their communities, in business, in our nation's military, and as elected representatives in local, state, and national office. 6 Boy Scouts have been elected President of the United States. 11 of the 12 men to walk on the moon, Boy Scouts. Boy Scout training focused on responsible citizenship, character and leadership development, patriotism, personal fitness, self-reliance, faith, and a wide range of outdoor skills. It was a great program, and this department had a close relationship with the Scouts almost since its inception, as many troops meet on military bases. After 2012, however, the Boy Scouts lost their way, and a once great organization became gravely wounded. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, crept in. The name was changed to Scouting America. Girls were accepted. The focus on God as the ruler of the universe was watered down to include openness to humanism and earth-centered pagan religions. Scouting became an organization that no longer supported and celebrated boys. They even welcomed the destructive myth of gender fluidity and transgenderism to infiltrate their membership. Along the way, standards were lowered and merit destroyed in favor of an insidious, radical, woke ideology that is anti-America and anti-American. The result, membership cratered. Americans didn't want this. In 1970, 10 million boys participated in Boy Scouts. Currently, less than 1 million boys and girls participate. Further, many of these community organizations that once supported Scout troops, they withdrew their support. And Scouting America, the parent organization, filed for bankruptcy protection. The changes Scouting America made since 2012 have also jeopardized the relationship with this department. And I was very seriously considering ending our support of Scouting altogether. We have a department to protect, after all. Beyond that, the policies Scouting America have in place violate President Trump's Executive Order 14173, entitled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity. But before making this big change, I decided to meet with the current Scouting leadership to convey our deep concerns. Based on that face-to-face conversation and subsequent conversations, Scouting America agreed to make several key reforms. And let me briefly highlight a few of them. First, Scouting America has agreed to comply immediately with the provisions of Executive Order 14173. This includes reviewing and replacing politicized, divisive, and discriminatory language throughout the organization, programs, and all publications. No more DEI 0. Second, the, quote, Citizen in Society Merit Badge that encourage Scouts to explore diversity, equity, inclusion, and identity. They always mask it under a name that sounds great, but it's doing something else. And then asks those Scouts to engage in activism on those topics. That badge has been discontinued. Third, Scouting America will modify its policy to make clear that membership will be based solely on biological sex at birth and not gender identity. That means that the application, any application, will have only two sex designations, male and female, and the application must match the applicant's birth certificate. Scouting will also make clear that biological boys and girls will not be allowed to occupy or share intimate spaces together. Toilets, showers, tents, anywhere like that. Fourth, Scouting America will honor those who serve by waiving the registration fees for children of active duty, Guard, and Reserve families. Should have happened a long time ago. Fifth, in partnership with the War Department, Scouting America will introduce a new military service merit badge. These and other changes that Scouting America's leadership committed to, in that room right over there, will hopefully result in a rededication to the foundational ideals that have defined Scouting for generations: duty to God and country, leadership, character, and service. However, as President Reagan famously said, trust but verify. This agreement is new, and the department's support for Scouting America is contingent on them making substantial progress toward reaching these and many other positive changes in the next 6 months. At that time, we'll vigorously review progress and decide whether or not to continue our support. The onus is squarely on Scouting America to deliver. If we're unsatisfied with Scouting America's progress toward and commitment to the agreed upon reforms, we will find them in violation of the President's executive order and cease our support. We hope that doesn't happen, but it could. Ideally, I believe the Boy Scouts should go back to being the Boy Scouts, as originally founded, a group that develops boys into men, maybe someday. There are also additional youth and boys organizations, groups like Trail Life USA and Awana clubs, that are already compliant with President Trump's executive order that the department may eventually support as well. But we're watching, and we're watching closely. We look forward to providing you with updates after our 6-month review, and wish the best to Scouting America.
All right, so we heard the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, talking about the Scout America program, some of the reforms there. Also in other news, of course, with the Anthropic, there's a statement out there from Anthropic. We're going to get into some of those details. If you have no idea what I just said, we'll get into some more details about that in just a minute. Let's go to some of our sponsors in the meantime, right here on Right Side, including Birch Gold Group. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years, and a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. More than any other commodity on earth, gold thrives during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. And see if holding gold as a tax-sheltered retirement account would be right for you. Birch Gold can actually help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. So all you have to do is start it out with texting Trump to 989898. Again, text Trump to 989898. You can help diversify with gold. You'll get that free info kit with Birch Gold Group. All right, let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side as it's 11:22 this morning on Friday, February 27th. RSBN donate, I believe I heard. That might be right. We'll see. There it is. All right. So if you just go to rsbnetwork.com/donate, obviously we're growing and expanding here at the network. So as we continue to bring you live coverage of a lot of different events that are out there, whether it's inside the Beltway of Washington, D.C. or outside, if you'd like to donate to the network, you can. We're not bought and paid for by any woke corporations, which is always good. All right. Thank you so much for doing so. If you're able, I remember yesterday, a number of people, I think it was on YouTube, possibly on Rumble as well. I think it was on YouTube that donated a lot to us, which was very nice. All right, let's do this. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to the America First Policy Institute. Joining us now to preview President Trump's speech. Can you talk to us about America and energy? We know President Trump will be in Corpus Christi a little bit later today talking about the economy, but also talking energy. So how do you see our country right now in energy production with the big three, oil, coal, and natural gas?
Absolutely. So energy is a critically important part of the economy. It is the industry that powers every other industry. So with coal, oil, natural gas, we are at a resurgence. Honestly, President Trump has unleashed America's energy wealth. We have a natural energy abundance. Coal, we are stopping the bleeding. President Trump has made sure that the war on coal led by the previous administration has been ended. We are keeping coal plants from being retired prior to the end of their useful life. With regard to oil and natural gas, we are hitting all-time highs. In 2025, we hit a record level of crude oil production at an annual rate of 13.6 million barrels per day. This is higher than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. This is real energy dominance, and this is translating into lower prices for the American people. We are seeing that from January 2025 to January 2026, prices are down on average across America about 10%, and that translates to almost $10 per tank when Americans are filling up. These are real savings, and this is happening not just once a year, but every week for Americans, sometimes once every couple of days. Really exciting stuff.
And what we saw the other day at the White House with the beautiful clean coal event, right? It was a lot of coal miners there. We had an interview with a state representative out of West Virginia, Chris Rose, who is a fourth-generation coal miner. I mean, these are awesome, hardworking, patriotic Americans. And what is it like for you to be able to, speak on their behalf and indirectly, and to really talk about just specifically coal and clean, beautiful coal?
Well, I'll tell you what, it is an honor to be able to represent the interests of our coal miners, our coal communities. People don't realize all the time, but coal creates generational jobs in parts of the country where a generational job and a good paycheck might otherwise be hard to come by. So we're very proud of our beautiful clean coal here in America, and not just the jobs, but these coal miners and the coal plants that they provide fuel for. These are powering reliable energy across America to provide for the AI boom, to provide for the industrial renaissance that President Trump is shepherding in. He's talked about reshoring manufacturing to building new advanced manufacturing centers. Coal is a fantastic way to do that reliably and affordably, And as President Trump and EPA Administrator Zeldin are ensuring that it does so with a low environmental impact. We can absolutely have beautiful, clean coal, and we can power America with it.
That's awesome. And let's talk about oil now. I mean, we've heard President Trump on the campaign trail and also as president, drill, baby, drill. Can you talk to us about, is that something, it's land and sea that can be done here and is done here, right? Can you kind of give us the 411 on some of those details?
Absolutely. So America, like I said, is blessed with tremendous mineral abundance. And part of that is our tremendous wealth in petroleum and oil and natural gas. President Trump, through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, also referred to as the Working Families Tax Cut, has ensured that our lands can't be locked away like the previous administration tried to do. We're going to drill, baby, drill, and we're going to do so responsibly, both on American lands and waters. This is unleashing an amount of oil that has just been tremendous for the American people in terms of driving their gas prices down. It's also allowing us to export untold, or not untold, but previously unreached levels of liquefied natural gas. And President Trump is in Corpus Christi today. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright was there yesterday to talk about this, to tell this American success story. We are at the same time providing low-cost natural gas for Americans to heat their homes, for our industry to power their plants, and for the AI and data center boom. And we are helping to secure our allies around the world by providing them low-cost, reliable, and effective liquefied natural gas to push back against hostile regimes such as Iran and Russia, which would seek to use their energy to make countries in Europe like Ukraine and elsewhere worse off.
So then let's talk about something more personal, if you'd like, Ted. Tell us, as an American patriot working at America First Policy Institute, what was it, maybe a couple years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it was, what was it that said, I have to throw my hat in the ring. I have to do something for my country?
Look, I've been in DC for 10 years, and I came here a bit by accident. And I was fortunate that I came here around the time that President Trump was just hitting the political scene and coming into his moment and bringing the America First movement to reality. In that moment, I knew that I had to get involved. And I've been so fortunate to get involved on the energy side, because while energy can be a little bit wonky, a little bit esoteric, it is the industry that underpins all of our industrial success. And President Trump's message beyond drill, baby, drill has been to make America amazing and powerful on the economic side. And energy is a critical part of that, from coal, oil, and natural gas, like we've talked about, and also in nuclear. We have the world's largest nuclear fleet, the most energetic nuclear fleet. And it's critically important that we both preserve that, as Secretary Wright has been doing, and also to make sure that we lead the world with the next generation of advanced nuclear. And I've got good news. According to Chris Wright, we are going to have advanced reactors going critical by July 4th of this year. That's how America leads the world, and that's how we bring energy innovation to the American people and to our partners abroad.
If you're just joining us, this is Ted Ellis with the America First Policy Institute. And Ted, you just mentioned you've been in D.C. for a decade now, right?
A decade.
Okay. So what is it like now compared to 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when you have the National Guard out there, when you have more conservatives that are, obviously in office and that kind of thing? What's the overall feel? Can you compare it at all with us? Just the everyday life, but also within the political arena and all of that?
Well, let me start by comparing to a year ago. A year ago, Washington felt unsafe. It felt like there was crime, that it was dirty. A year ago, it was the end of the administration, the beginning of the President Trump administration. Now it feels clean and safe, and frankly, it's a relief. We're very glad to have the National Guard here to provide order and to help ensure that the streets are safe. 10 years ago, let me tell you what, it was a totally different time. Washington felt like the proverbial land of smoke-filled rooms and backroom deals. I think President Trump has really helped refocus Washington, D.C. on the interests of the American people, and not just cutting any deal that you can to make a quick buck, or to make sure that you retire from your seat in Congress and get that board position at the big defense contractor. I think he has really helped usher in a new generation of members of Congress and civil servants even who are interested in putting the American people first and putting their careers second. And frankly, that's what the American people have been asking for decades. We're very grateful that that's now much more the case.
And over the past 10 years, you think about all the wins under President Trump. Even when Biden was in office, it still felt like, didn't it feel like President Trump was still the president during Biden?
Look, President Trump has always been my president. I think that's very much right. I think the American people, when they were looking for moral leadership, certainly, and a political way forward, I know that many people looked to President Trump, even during the Biden years. I think he was consistent in drawing the contrast between the messages of the Biden administration, which were managed scarcity, which were America maybe. And President Trump said, no, we're not going to accept a managed decline. We're going to lead the world. We're going to continue doing that. And we're going to do so proudly and say that our American values are what set us apart from the rest of the world. And we can use those values to lead ourselves and to lead other countries to a better spot. And I think that that's very much something that's continuing today. And I'm very grateful for President Trump.
And we know that President Trump won 3 election landslides, really. And we know that's what happened, of course. We know what happened in 2020. But yeah, I mean, the people wanted him. And he's now in the office. We're looking forward to many more wins. Accountability, transparency, all the things. Ted Ellis with the America First Policy Institute. Thank you again for joining us. We'll most likely be airing this interview a bit later, too, as the president will be speaking in Texas. Thank you again, Ted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Good interview there with Ted Ellis out of Washington, D.C. Quite awesome to hear that perspective. I haven't been in Washington in it's been about, 5 months, 6 months. But for it to be the way he's saying, safer, cleaner, because of that National Guard there. I don't know, if you live in a city out there, wouldn't you want the National Guard to be around just to assist, right? In certain cities, not every city needs that, or does it? But Washington, D.C., definitely one of those cities that does. And hopefully the Guard will stick around there under the right presidents in the future. All right, so let's switch our attention to the Middle East. What will happen in Iran, if anything? Will there be peace? Will there be more? We know this. At this hour, the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem is saying on February 27th, 2026, the Department of State authorized the departure of non-emergency U.S. government personnel and family members of U.S. government personnel from Mission Israel due to safety risks. In response to security incidents and without advance notice, the U.S. Embassy may further restrict or prohibit U.S. government employees and their family members from traveling to certain areas of Israel, the Old City of Jerusalem, and the West Bank. Persons may wish to consider leaving Israel while commercial flights are available. Again, that's the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. To our north, this is an international situation, of course. The Canadian government issuing a similar statement saying, quote, Canadians in Iran, due to the ongoing tensions, hostilities in the region, could resume with little or no warning. Leave Iran now, if you can do so safely. Ensure travel documents are up to date and keep sufficient supplies in case you need to shelter in place. All right, so speaking of Iran, again, that's on a lot of people's minds. What will happen there? Will it be peace? Will it be more? What will happen? We'll monitor it. Let's hear from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and then following these couple comments about Iran, we will also hear from the Vice President as he spoke in Wisconsin yesterday, but also touched on the Middle East situation as well. Let's take a look.
Well, I'm not going to make any news on Iran today, Caitlin. I'll let the president make those announcements. As you know, he is sending 2 of his best negotiators to Geneva tomorrow in order to continue to try to strike the best deal possible for the American people. But the principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild the nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. And in fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address that problem, as the president has said repeatedly, he wants to address that problem diplomatically, but of course the president has other options as well.
They're trying to achieve intercontinental ballistic missiles. For example, you've seen them try to launch the satellites into space. You've seen them increasing the range of the missiles they have now. And clearly they are headed in the pathway to one day being able to develop weapons that could reach the continental U.S. They already possess weapons that could reach much of Europe, already now, as we speak. And the ranges continue to grow every single year exponentially, which is amazing to me. For a country that's facing sanctions, whose economy is in tatters, whose people are suffering, and somehow they still find the money to invest in missiles of greater and greater capacity every year. This is an unsustainable threat. And the president was very clear last night that he always prefers diplomacy. But I want you to understand, and everyone should know, that Iran poses a very grave threat to the United States and has for a very long time. They are in possession, first and foremost, after their nuclear program was obliterated, they were told not to try to restart it, and here they are. You can see them always trying to rebuild elements of it. They're not enriching right now, but they're trying to get to the point where they ultimately can. The other thing I would point you to, however, is that Iran possesses a very large number of ballistic missiles, particularly short-range ballistic missiles that threaten the United States and our bases in the region and our partners in the region. And all of our bases in the UAE, in Qatar, in Bahrain. And they also possess naval assets that threaten shipping and try to threaten the U.S. Navy. So I want everybody to understand that, and beyond just the nuclear program, they possess these conventional weapons that are solely designed to attack America and attack Americans if they so choose to do so. These things have to be addressed. The negotiations tomorrow and the talks tomorrow will be largely focused on the nuclear program. And we hope progress can be made, because that's the president's preference, to make progress on the diplomatic front. But it's also important to remember that Iran refuses to talk about the ballistic missiles, to us or to anyone. And that's a big problem.
All right, so the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the Vice President at that one event when he was speaking with Dr. Oz the other day about fraud, waste, and abuse, talking about Iran. Now, also within the Washington Post, the Vice President saying, quote, "The idea that we're going to be in a Middle Eastern war for years with no end in sight, there is no chance that will happen," end quote. Of course, we're going to dive into more about Iran in just a minute, as just a few minutes from now, Jacob Oladort, the Chief Research Officer and Director of American Security at America First Policy Institute, will be joining us. And actually, it sounds like he is already here with us. So let's go to Jacob right now. Again, the Chief Research Officer and Director of American Security. Thank you so much for joining us, Jacob.
Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. What are the current options on the table with Iran? 30,000-foot view.
Absolutely. Well, this president has shown time and again that he prefers the diplomatic option. That's always the first recourse, but he also has a very strong record going back to the first term of standing and taking bold actions when there are any threats to the American people. And obviously the military option is there in reserve. We obviously don't know the scope, duration, scale of what, if any, actions might be considered, but that of course is what everyone is looking at the moment.
Exactly. So we're monitoring the latest on that. You know, we saw a somewhat of a similar situation with Venezuela. You remember President Trump used the word armada. There was an armada of U.S. military off the shores of Venezuela, and now there's an armada that's out there in the Middle East off the shores of the Iranian region. So do you see this possibly, I guess it's a guessing game at this point, as a similar situation of surgical strikes there? Or there's also the Board of Peace and the Abraham Accords. Maybe this will be a peaceful situation. I guess the question is, what is it like right now in Iran to be someone that is not part of that Islamic Republic for an everyday Iranian?
Well, I have no doubt in my mind that whatever actions we end up taking will create better opportunities for peace in the region and around the world. And I say that because this is going to be unlike, in my view, anything we've done before, including with Venezuela. I think Iran, first of all, has been waging the longest forever war against the American people for half a century, including thousands of Americans killed. It also has its tentacles in threats back in our Western Hemisphere all the way to China, propping up Russia's war in Ukraine. And so its threats, its impact is global in scale. And so I think that's why I believe whatever actions, whatever we see will look very different, and the impact will be very different. And so it's hard to really predict beyond that what that could look like.
So Jacob, you're the Chief Research Officer and Director of American Security there at AFPI, just letting people know that are just joining us. Tell us more about that position there at AFPI, how long you've been there, what it entails, and then also how proud you may be to, obviously you are, to work for the American people.
Well, I'm incredibly proud. This is the best, greatest honor of my life. We are a 501c3 founded in 2021. Many of us, myself included, came out of the first Trump White House, where I spent 10 months in 2020. We are, as I said, we don't speak on behalf of the administration. We're a research institution. I've been there since the beginning, since our founding. Very proud to be here. We are the only resource and institution out there representing the interests of the American people on all policy issues. But in my day-to-day, obviously dealing with national security, ensuring that our interests are preserved and represented around the world in whatever engagements we have. And certainly we have no better administration to carry that flag than the one we have currently. So very proud of the work and this historic time to be doing it.
Prior to working at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, what were you up to? And then when you got the gig at the biggest, most famous house on planet Earth to work there, what was it like to get that news that you got that job there and then to continue on here at AFPI?
Oh, it was a really surreal moment in the spring of 2020 to get that opportunity, a phone call really to say, look, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to serve, and the president needs you. The president and his team need you. But if you look behind me, that's some of my experiences that I've had the privilege to serve in, working initially on the Hill for Senator Orrin Hatch during his kind of final years there in Senate leadership. He was obviously one of the president's earliest supporters and those of the administration. So privileged to step in there. And then when he retired, Senator Hawley kindly gave me the great opportunity to serve on his staff as his first foreign policy advisor when he just took office in early 2019. I have the great privilege of learning from so many people, so many mentors and teachers, including the great representatives of our people that I served under, and come initially from an academic background, but I'd say my attachment to the America First movement and cause really comes from personal history. As a first-generation American, my folks both immigrated and fled from tyranny, from the Soviet grasp back in the 70s, and that was because of the leadership of the Senate and the presidency at the time, Nixon and others. And so very much a deep appreciation for the fragile but unique role this country plays in the world, and the important mission that we have to serve the American people because of that.
Let's explore that a little bit more specifically when it comes to being an American, being home, land of the free, home of the brave, all the things that really is the heartbeat of America. And for you, having that international experience, I'm sure you've traveled the world. I've been to a few countries as well. But there's just something about when you return to the United States of America, you see the red, white, and blue, you're back on our soil, and yes, you drink a Coca-Cola and have some McDonald's, why not? You're just happy to be back, you know what I mean? So can you talk to us about that, maybe some of the encouragement to the Patriots watching right now?
Absolutely. No, you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, that's exactly the feeling. That's why we actually go abroad, is to come back home and just get that reminder of home and how special it is. And you see it abroad too, increasingly. You know, the Burger Kings out in the UAE, where I lived for a year, and other parts of the world, where how much people actually love America, even beyond our borders, and want our leadership. Even now with Iran, what's happening, you know, it's interesting because politics aside, you know, sometimes these tend to be very, you know, especially academics tend to be very liberal, of course, but when they know America's leadership in the world, everything's forgotten, and it's just American leadership that they care about in these parts of the world. And so I think that's exactly right. And that's why understanding the world to me is an integral part of my job, because it makes sure that what we're doing and how we're doing it has enduring impact, that we're resonating and ensuring that American interests are protected however we engage abroad.
You know, both sides of the coin here. One is peace through strength, Abraham Accords, Board of Peace, let's have it through a peaceful way. Others say, well, there are Iranians that are saying we don't want to be under this awful regime. So it's very interesting to talk about both sides of the equation there. Jacob Oladort, thank you so much for joining us from the America First Policy Institute. And I'm proud to be an American just like you, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. An honor.
Definitely. All right, 11:48, Friday, February 27th. We are covering a lot today, even though it's a Friday. We're going to have an RSBN doubleheader. President Trump will be speaking in Corpus Christi a bit later today. So we may see the president speak with reporters outside of the White House on the South Lawn. prior to his departure to Corpus Christi. We do know that at 3:05 Eastern time, the president will receive an energy briefing in Texas. Then at about 30 minutes later, he'll deliver some remarks on energy. Also, we're hearing he'll be talking about the economy as well. So this is going to be in Corpus Christi, Texas. And before we go to Texas on our second broadcast later today, of course, we know that the top of the broadcast, that the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is holding a closed-door deposition of President Bill Clinton to question him about his connection to Jeffrey Epstein. That started at 11 o'clock this morning. As many of you may know, Secretary Hillary Clinton appeared yesterday before the committee as we await the release of that video from the committee. Speaking of the Oversight Committee, Kentucky Representative James Comer had this to say after yesterday's deposition. Let's go to clip one.
Most of the questions that we asked about the Clinton Global Initiative, which were very specific questions, some of them were backed by emails and other documents that have been released by the Department of Justice. She said that she was a senator and you would have to ask her husband that tomorrow. So we have a lot of questions for her husband tomorrow, and I'm confident that deposition will last even longer than this one. We're going to hold both Clintons in criminal contempt of Congress.
I'm going to note for the record that former President Clinton is not present.
Today, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform meets to advance two resolutions recommending that the House of Representatives find former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusing to comply with duly issued subpoenas. The question is now on favorably reporting the William J. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 34, the nays are 8, with 2 voting present.
The ayes have it. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find William J. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with the subpoena duly issued by this committee. The question is now on favorably reporting the Hillary R. Clinton contempt report as amended.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, the ayes are 28, the nays are 15, with 1 voting present.
The ayes have it. Pursuant to this vote, the committee hereby favorably reports and adopts this report recommending that the House of Representatives find Hillary R. Clinton in contempt of Congress for refusal to comply with a subpoena duly issued by this committee. We will move the report to the full House. Today, the Clintons must be held accountable for their actions, and Democrats must support these measures or they will be exposed as hypocrites.
But if Comer tries to bring this resolution, he wants to lock Hillary Clinton up, consistent with what Donald Trump's been saying now for 10 years, lock her up, then we'll deal with it appropriately.
And just moments ago, our president of RSBN, Grace Porter, just sent this out from Representative James Comer on the Hillary Clinton deposition. So Representative Comer is saying, quote, "We're going to get the video out as quickly as we can upload it. This is for all practical purposes, a public deposition. The American people are going to see it." So that video with Hillary Clinton from yesterday, that'll be out there soon. Of course, today is President Bill Clinton. That video will be out there soon as well. And if you've noticed, I haven't really said former President Bill Clinton. You remember when everybody kept calling President Trump former president? It's always been any president is called President Bill Clinton or President George Bush. It's not really a former thing. It's just always a title that you stick to. So if you're wondering, that's kind of the rule of thumb I go by. But anyway, that's a little bit of inside baseball. Meantime, let's switch some gears. We're going to go again to the RSBN doubleheader, our second live broadcast a little bit later today, as the president will be speaking around 3:30 Eastern. We'll be live around 2:30. We'll just stick to our programming notes to find out which specifics are out there for that. Before we get to some more of our videos and before we wrap up this broadcast and give you any updates as we see it in the 24/7 news cycle, let's go to angelpace.com. out of Spring, Texas. So President Trump, of course, in Texas today. This place, of course, a great sponsor out of Spring, Texas, hiring military veterans and also some great skincare products. We actually got some of this sent to us the other day. So Angel Paste, Miracle Cream, there it is right there. So angelpaste.com, use the RSBN promo code. That will give you quite the discount. And there's a lot of different products there. Just to peruse the site there. Longtime great sponsor here at Right Side, angelpaste.com. All right, let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN as well. You can see you can save with that RSBN promo code. Also, I'm hearing that MyPillow is actually announcing that they are extending the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. So that means save a lot of dollars, but get great products. Always good to do that with mypillow.com. The great Mike Lindell, the owner of that company. And he's got a resume this long, so we all know about it. But the latest one is the throwing his hat in the ring for the gubernatorial race in Minnesota. All right, 11:53, Friday, February 27th. We have a couple more videos to get to before we wrap up our broadcast, our first broadcast of the day. Small business administrator Kelly Loeffler recently posted on X on our clip 7 here, quote, President Trump's State of the Union was one for the ages. America is so back, end quote. Check it out. All right, I was just told in my ear that we don't have clip 7, so we have to go to something else. You got to roll with it sometimes. Do we have the next clip? This is Chris Wright, of course, the Energy Secretary. Okay, let's go to that video. This is in regards to the energy speech that President Trump will have later today.
I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas, and behind me is President Trump's energy dominance agenda. These giant tankers are bringing American natural gas via LNG, driving jobs and prosperity in the United States and security for our allies abroad. There's a buzz in the air here. President Trump will arrive here in Corpus Christi for a fantastic rally to celebrate the hard-working Americans in Corpus Christi that build the big steel, the heavy infrastructure that enables American energy dominance.
So again, today, President Trump will be in Corpus Christi to talk about the economy, talk about energy. There's a lot of stories, of course, we're following out there on the 24/7 news cycle, everything from the video depositions with Hillary Clinton yesterday, Bill Clinton today. We want to see the Save America Act passed. Why not, right? Voter IDs, just show a photo ID when voting and have your proof of citizenship if needed. That's common sense stuff, and anybody that's against it, why are you against it? And we know the answer to that, many of us do. So anyway, we want to see that passed. And of course, we're keeping our eye on the Middle East with Iran. So other than that, it's Friday. So happy Friday to you. Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
All right, welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. 14 minutes ago, President Bill Clinton released his statement, his opening statement to the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. So this is news to us right now because we just saw it. It'll be news to you unless you're already reading it 14 minutes ago. But this is what President Bill Clinton just said moments ago. Actually, this is not the correct one, guys. I just sent you the new one. It's okay, no worries. But I just want to read this verbatim here from the president. I'm here today for two reasons. This again from President Bill Clinton. The first is that I love my country, and America was built upon the idea that no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents. Democracy requires every person to play their part, and I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree with one another civilly, where the search for truth and justice outweighs the partisan urge to score points and create spectacle. President Clinton saying this morning at the closed-door deposition, "I'll do my part, and I hope you'll do yours." The second reason I'm here is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not only justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both. Though my brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication of what was truly going on, I'm here to offer what little I know so that it might prevent anything like this from ever happening again. Bill Clinton, again, this opening remarks and statement to the House GOP committee. Before we start, Clinton says, "I have to get personal. You made Hillary come in. She had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his properties. Whether you subpoenaed 10 people or 10,000, including her, was simply not right." We began this hearing with me raising my hand. I'm going to have to read this from my teleprompter, my thing here, just to get it clear, guys. We begin this hearing with me raising my hand and taking an oath to tell the truth. But everyone has a responsibility to be honest with those they represent. Whether you raised your right hand or not, each and every one of us owes nothing less than truth and accuracy to the American people. All right, let me continue on with the second page of President Clinton's statement this morning. Now, obviously this is just sent to us, haven't read over it yet, so we're just rolling with it. Now, let me say what you're going to hear from me. First, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos you show me, I have two things that at the end of the day matter more than your interpretation of those 20-year-old photos. He says, Bill Clinton does, "I know what I saw, and more importantly, what I didn't see. I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. I saw nothing, and I did nothing wrong." This according to President Clinton this morning to the House GOP Oversight Government Reform Committee for that video deposition. Now, these words, I'm going to continue on a couple more paragraphs yet. You're going to see him say this in a video once the House GOP releases it. James Comer says he's going to release Hillary Clinton's video from yesterday as soon as they can. They're not holding anything back when it comes to the actual video because this is just partly how it works with closed-door depositions. It's the same thing that happened with Les Wexner and Ghislaine Maxwell. If you would like to check out some of those videos, I'll just tell you exactly where they are, and I'm sure we'll post some of them maybe on our network as well, but it's the House GOP committee on YouTube has the videos, but not of the Clintons yet. Anyway, let me continue on. President Bill Clinton saying, "As someone who grew up in a home with domestic abuse, not only would I have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not sweetheart deals. But even with 20/20 hindsight, I saw nothing that ever gave me pause. We were only here because he hid it from everyone so well for so long. And by the time it came to light with his 2008 guilty plea, I had long stopped associating with him." This from President Clinton, once again, for those of you just joining us for this morning's opening remarks to that closed-door deposition. A couple more paragraphs here. I'm just going to pick up the old iPad and just read it because there's something in the way there, so I can't read what's on the other side of that camera. "You'll often hear me say that I don't recall. That might be unsatisfying, but I'm not going to say something I'm not sure of. This was all a long time ago, and I am bound by my oath not to speculate or to guess. This is not merely for my benefit, but because it doesn't help you for me to play detective 24 years later. Since I am under oath, I will not falsely state that I am looking forward to your questions, but I am ready to answer them to the best of my abilities, consistent with the facts as I know them, the legitimate, the logical, and even the outlandish. With that, Mr. Chairman, fire away." That is the opening statement from President Bill Clinton from this morning. That posted to Bill Clinton's X page. If you'd like to read it, it's right there for you on X. If you aren't on X, well, just scrub back a bit and just watch me stumble over it a little bit. We just received the couple-page report here. First time I'm reading it was reading it live to you right there. So Again, as I mentioned, 24/7 news cycle at a rapid pace. We're covering the stories as they happen. We're also talking about Iran and the Save America Act. And later today, President Trump to speak in Corpus Christi, Texas. That's going to be at 3:30. We'll have a broadcast that will lead up to that at about 2:30. So you have to check your local listings, as they say, to watch us live as we have an RSBN doubleheader here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's Friday, February 27th. Hopefully happy Friday to you. Well, I'd say happy Friday. Happy Friday to you guys. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you for part 2 of our live broadcast a little bit later.